with Koromanti, Akan men to subdue the men because of the belief that the women were bound to their first sons' birthplaces. So they refused to escape once they had a son in that community. Even when they had opportunities to escape, they refused to escape. Again, back to the Igbo character, content, and spirit. Even in the grim periods in history, Ndi Igbo have held on to dominant values and character traits, which elevated those forebears of the people who taught Echiche, sojourned Njepu, worked Olo, and accomplished Ntozu. Their accomplishment showed in the glamorous Bight of Biafra, seen by the Portuguese and the Spanish. Till date, the modern Igbo explore to the fullest those attributes which are identified as the trinity of Igbo character and process of personality. Every Igbo man employs his. The same Igbo sojourns, home and abroad, and at the same time acts, works, and creates wealth. We all know that sojourning is a great industry of the Igbo, which is achieved with the proper deployment of one of the greatest Igbo media of actualization, Okunije. Ndi Igbo, rising in the cradle in the holy city of Nri, had deployed the feet and found out into the global arena. As they journeyed, they bore the court of reason, Apauche. This we all know we used to direct the strokes of physical gesture, which we know as Aka Ikenga. These form the trinity of the Igbo character at home and abroad. The end product is accomplishment. When it is told in the hills, the valleys, cities, and villages, they were celebrating that accomplishment. That is Odedibo. Universal applause for fame. So, in other words, the Igbo journeys, he goes to Alaba market in Lagos, right? He goes to Lagos, maybe successful banker. The Igbo journeys, graduates from medical school, goes to America, and accomplishes. Lawyer, travels, accomplishes. When he has accomplished and succeeded, based on the trinity of his character, Njepu, Ibambo, na Apauche, court of reason, you have the trinity of the Igbo character. And Ntozu is the confirmation that he has arrived, the title. It is at that time that the Igbo may return home to open the new home, his new house, and invite his friends. He may return home to take traditional titles. He may return home for the wedding of his children. That acclamation and recognition is Odedibo. Again, in medicine, there's what we call genetic mutation. So you can say that the giraffe has a long neck because of the acacia tree, and the tongue because of the thorns in the acacia tree. You may say that in small people, I refuse to use the word pygmies, that because of the dense vegetation, maybe they have gone through some level of mutation to become small. So it is my contention that the Igbos, over the years, have gone through some social mutation, which has been exacerbated by a neglected homeland, a homeland without infrastructure, a homeland where their dignity has been eroded. So the Igbo nation, in essence, is a virtual nation, is a cyber nation. Are you following me? So the world, the universe, is the home of the Igbo nation. And the heartbeat, listen to me carefully, it's important. And the heartbeat of this Igbo nation is outside the 5 states of the Southeast zone. It's not there. Because your heartbeat can only be where the best are. Ebe ndị dike nwoke na dike nwanyị nọ. That is where the heartbeat is. So the heartbeat of the Igbo nation is outside the southeastern zone. So what it means is that just like Israel is symbolic, Israel is a symbolic home of the Jews. But the Jews are worldwide. And wherever they go, they control those areas. So also, the Igbo have also learned, acclimatized, to also be worldwide. Not necessarily migrating, but dispersing, based on the trinity of their character. This is a story we are going to tell some other time. Everything was a festival. The festival of famine, the festival of marriage, the festival of childbearing, the festival of harvest, and even the festival of death and burial. In Igbo, in the past, were communal to perfection. They harvested palm produce together. They farmed together. They harvested their farms together. They tackled problems together. And when colonialism arrived, with the new culture of formal education as a way of building the mind and creating the workforce for the emerging political and economic environment, Ndi Igbo in their various communities pooled resources together to train their indigent but brilliant and resourceful sons and daughters in overseas university. Actually, Ndi Igbo elevated the values of republicanism in their practice of hormone and kindred group. They practiced a perfect aggregation of communal resources to attain such societies which lived in contentment while it strengthened the individual. It was a society which provided for the expression of the individual vigor within the values rigidly pursued by that society. What each civilized being aspired to attain was made possible by the force of support and encouragement from the kindred. So that is very, very clear. These were for the good old days and derived from civilization, which impressed the Portuguese and the Spanish. But surprisingly, Ndi Igbo followed this with an explosion of the individual cloud, which swamped the age-old Umona. That was the arrival of the celebration of the person, his wealth, and his interest, without regard for the community and the attendant values. That is now. It became clear to me that I belong to a people who have all it takes to take the reins in all spheres of national life, but who have traded away every right, every opportunity to the celebration of the single man's feat at making it materially. Ihe ike ketere orie, nke nkwụ batara onwuo. On this current pattern of individualistic behavior springs the claim that ka ọ dịbe onye, ka ọ dịbe ibe ya. As it is in a man's home, so it is in another's. We have even furthered it in our claim that ụbọchị amụrụ dike na mba ka amụrụ ibe ya. So to say, as a warrior rises in your place, so one also rises in mine. Perhaps this had informed the tactless refrain, "Esibegi ejebe onye," as we say in diffidence and total disregard for the views of others. Ndị Igbo we all know who have come of the pedigree of industry. Anyị na-arụzi ọrụ ike site na mgbe gboo. We have not come of shallow values. Our founding fathers, as I stated earlier, have come of the cultivated value of character trait founded in the dominant trinity of the Igbo personality. Of course, we have suffered much forgetfulness that we no longer hand it down to rising generations, that our forefathers pursued the beats of values in which their clear defining patterns provided every Igbo man with the right application of his personality trait from generation to generation. Anyị na-eche echiche, anyị na-ejepụ, and anyị na-arụwapụ ọrụ. Now to the kernel of this discussion, the Igbo woman. Ordinarily, the Igbo woman is one of the others primed, trained, and cajoled to bear the burden of her patrilineal group as one donor, as she saddled with the duty of Nora in her marital society. So I said, Nwada Ono and Nne Ora, as she is forced to be subsumed in the marital abode as an appendage or lubricant of the struggle, who turns to arrive as the real beacon or torch-bearer of silent notes. The Igbo woman has carried on almost as a beast of burden. Yet in all vanities and shenanigans of man, he has no choice but crouch and watch the eruptions of women when they tend to act like angered lions. Now consider one such forceful eruption, which you may be familiar with. When it became unbearable for women to continue to lose their crops and farms to the foraging of goats and pigs, they erupted in many parts of Igbo land. According to Margaret Green in her paper, I quote, Igbo Descent Organization and Women Participation, unquote, women at the time felt they had had enough. They boycotted all work, stopped sweeping the village roads and paths, and this forced the rulers to intervene, and rule to cage animals came into force. There's a long history of collective activism among Igbo women in Nigeria. In the 1910s, women in Abaja stayed away from their homes for a month because they thought that men were killing pregnant women. Their collective action pushed village elders to take action to address the concerns of the women. In letters of Benita Nsofo, in I quote, our Umuada and our Eyomdi, women never shied away from the ultimate pressure group, the group and individual linkages between their natal and marital lineages. Natal is Umuada, marital is Eyomdi. They intervened and settled disputes back and forth, performed rites, sacrifices, rituals, and absolution of the general communities, and were ambassadors both for the natal and marital endpoints. Now, let us consider modern political development of Ndigbo. Ndigbo are a consensual democratic people. In other words, Igbos are Republican. There's segmentary leadership, age group leadership, and gerontocracy. And of course, Umada and Iyomdi. And Igbos achieved, in Igbo mythology, they achieved. A wrestler, how many men did you throw? A warrior, how many heads did you bring home? What is the size of your yam band? Those were the parameters for success, in addition to segmentary leadership. So, Igbo men were dismayed and horrified by the emergence of small potentates over them. They sat and huddled in bewilderment. The new Warrant chiefs. They were unabated in their bullish bearing on the people. You know, some of the Warrant chiefs emerged because they were essentially rejects, or the fathers and forebears were not sure of the mission of the colonial white masters. So they sent these people to act as Warrant chiefs, only to realize that they were actually in charge. And they started lording it over them. It was like all was lost, but it was not to be. That was when women stepped forward and they yelled. Mgbe nwoke ghara okwu, ọgụ ụmụ nwanyị eruola. And if men fail to question this unstopping degradation of our way of life, it is now war for the women. Now we get to the Aba women riots. Mrs. Nwanyerowa spearheaded the famous Aba women riot of 1929. This legendary but iconic woman led the first documented Igbo resistance. Bravery and tact were deployed in face of brazen brutality of the colonial despots. Women made war in 1929 to call attention to a number of situations that adversely affected their interests as women. They believed that the British colonial government would institute direct taxation on them, just as it had done on the men. It was highly rumored that women would be taxed next. They made war in reaction to a dramatic drop in palm oil prices due to the World Depression. Food pricing was an Igbo woman-controlled venture. And before the institution of direct taxation on men in 1927, the official price of palm oil was between 12 and 13 shillings per tin. The official price of palm kernel was between 7 and 8 shillings for a 50-pound weight per John Holt scaling. In 1928, the price of palm oil fell to 7 shillings, 5 pence. By 1929, the price depreciated to 5 shillings, 11 pence. The above grievances fueled Igbo women's rage, presenting a need to initiate an intifada. In search of astute leadership, the brilliant and outspoken Nwanyerowa was spotted by Faith and the people to lead the charge. So when in Oloko Area Division, the acting district officer, Mr. Cook, asked Warrant Chief Okogo to start counting adult males, count adult females, children and animals, Nwanyerowa knew the time had come. So Chief Okogo eventually delegated his messenger, Emerowa, on the 23rd of November, 1929. Heavens were let loose. Nwanyerowa mobilized other women to send palm twigs and palm fronds to women in neighboring villages, asking them to come to Oloko. Okogu's chief messenger, Emerowa, who was detailed to carry out the head count, he was brutish, crude, and he rushed into Wanyerowa's compound